All right. Thank you, commissioners. My name is Azhar Chougle. I'm the director of Trans Alliance. I'm here to give you an update on the Better Bus project, and I'm going to do this presentation backwards from the way that I usually do it. So I'm going to start off with the recommendation and explain how we ended up there. So between the coverage concept, which maintains coverage in our county but does not increase frequent service that much, and the ridership concept, which has great increases in frequent service but reduces coverage, we're actually recommending a final network in between. The reason it's blank is because it does not exist. I cannot emphasize enough that it does not exist. The two concepts, when you look at them, it says they are not proposals, and actually that no one's lying to you. They're not proposals. The final network will be in between the two concepts is what we're recommending. I'll explain more in a bit more detail. So one thing that you're not going to see, and we're actually going to hand out some new maps today, which we sent to your office in advance, is unincorporated Dade in those concepts, which I think absolutely must be recognized. So in the existing network, we're going to hand out some maps where the municipalities are shaded in. And also, we've separated out the trolleys and marked them yellow instead of red. So that perception about, oh, the north gets more than the south sort of was because the city of Miami trolleys were on the map because we're redesigning them. So again, the municipalities are shaded, and what you'll start to see in the ridership concept in particular is where unincorporated Dade gets left out. And I think that that's why our recommendation actually has a big asterisk to it, which is in between the two concepts, but coverage must be prioritized in unincorporated Dade. Because anything that's outside of that shaded area, that's a place where there's no half-penny surtax going to a municipality that can resolve a loss in coverage. So to be clear, our recommendation is in between the two concepts, with coverage prioritized in unincorporated Dade. Most of the south is in unincorporated Dade. This recommendation is based on exactly the sort of reasoning and exactly the sort of things that you're hearing from the community today. So that's a recommendation. I'll work backwards into how we got there. So let's talk about the why, the how, the what of this project. So why are we redesigning the bus network in the first place? Why are we going through this arduous, difficult process? And I'm going to give you the 5 reasons why we're doing this. So one, you all know we have a ridership crisis. You all know that we've lost 25 million boardings in the past 5 years, 33%, steepest drop. One of the steepest drops in the country. Other cities have done this before. Houston, great example. They've redesigned their bus network. Look where they are, all the way to the left of this graph, where they're actually increasing their ridership. Look where we are, all the way towards the end. It's not sustainable for us to just continue to run a bus system where we lose so many riders year after year after year. When we talk about the smart plan, when we talk about attracting federal dollars, this graph is our competitiveness in attracting federal dollars. The second reason is increased access to jobs and services. You know that both concepts have gains. For example, in the coverage concept, 33% more jobs within 45 minutes, within ridership, 51% more jobs. It's not just about jobs, though. Anyone who is accessing services like medical services, like going to the store, those places have jobs. So when we say an increase in access to jobs, that means an increase in access to all the places where you would really want to go because those places have jobs too. Affordability and equity. Commissioners, you look at the map and you're thinking, why are all those red lines where they are? Why are those 5 red lines where they are? Why isn't there a single bus route in the south that arrives every 15 minutes or less through the day? There's no good answer. And when we start from a conversation of equity, that's the place to start from in terms of the south especially. Why not one single bus route that arrives every 15 minutes throughout the day in all of southern Miami-Dade County? And what this blue line, which is a route that comes every 60 minutes throughout the day, what does that mean? And this is largely the situation in the south. This means that miss this bus once, wait 60 minutes, miss this bus twice, wait 60 minutes, miss this bus 3 times, and you get a bill. You get a bill for $9,000 a year because your only recourse to get to work is to own a car. And that $9,000 a year is the biggest affordability burden that we have in our county right now. Why are the red lines so important? Why is it important that the South has no red lines? And we've talked about how frequency equals freedoms, exactly what William was saying. When you get out of your house and you get into your car and that feeling of, I turn my car on, I can get anywhere I want to go to, that's what a red line does for someone. That red line means that they can get to where they need to go without having to plan their lives around transit. And when we look at the ridership concept in particular, and that's the more controversial one, we're not recommending it. But I want to give you some more context on why it exists. It has a lot to do with poverty density, actually. So when you look at the ridership concept, I'm going to give you some measurements. Again, we're not recommending this concept, but I just want to give you an understanding of why it exists. we measure what are the percentage of residents near frequent transit, which in the ridership concept is 28%. 29% of seniors are near frequent transit in the ridership concept. 33% of African Americans are near frequent transit in the ridership concept. 35% of people in poverty are near frequent transit. 54% of households that don't have a car to begin with are near frequent transit. It's not a mistake. This is exactly what happens when you start to design a transit network that's based on need. And again, we're not even recommending the ridership network. What we're recommending is something in between, especially in unincorporated Dade, because that loss of coverage, we've heard it loud and clear. And you still can have some of the benefits of the ridership concept, not as extreme, but you can still make a more equitable system for people in poverty, for people of color, for households with no car. Let's talk about congestion and resilience, which is reason number 5. This is the most simple graph I've ever come up with, actually. County bus ridership goes down. County bus fleet goes up, especially with the new buses, right? When you talk about solving congestion, what does an empty bus do for congestion? Nothing. It actually adds to congestion. What does a full bus do for congestion? A lot more than an empty bus. This project is also part of Resilient 305 for exactly the same reason. What does an empty bus do for resilience? Increases emissions. What does a full bus do for resilience? Decreases emissions, which gets me to our tax dollars, which is reason number 5. There's a great disparity in the routes that we have. Now, there's a lot of routes that perform really well. There's a lot of routes that don't perform really well. Sometimes not the fault of the route themselves, just how they're designed. That great disparity means our bus services cost $135 an hour to run. So on those high productivity routes, you're talking $3 a person. On the lowest productivity routes, you're talking $27 a person per hour. You can buy someone an entire day of Uber trips with that service. Now, is transit the best solution there? Does this make any sense to have our tax dollars utilized in this way? That's just an open question for a board that I feel like has brought that issue to the table before. All of these 5 reasons, these are just some of the reasons why this project is happening. It's not just to create controversy for controversy's sake. We do need to design the best possible network. And how are we doing that? How are we redesigning the bus network? I'm sorry I'm going to go over time, Commissioner, but I hope that this is good so far. Are we getting our good bang for our buck so far? Bang for minutes. It is through a combination of data and input. I'm not going to talk that much about the data, because you guys have heard all about the data. Data. That's not going to talk about that. I want to talk about the input. We've been all over Miami-Dade County with this project. 110 workshops, events, presentations, reached 2,500 people in person, over 4,000 responses across 2 surveys, which makes this, quite frankly, the largest engagement effort around bus service in Miami-Dade County ever. Just to give you some examples, like your MDT 10 Ahead survey, which is your comprehensive 10-year plan, has 1,400 survey responses on average. How have we done that? Priorities workshops with your staff, with municipalities. We spent 20 hours talking to the bus operators, which actually has been a fantastic experience. We look forward to going back. Portable workshops where we go directly to the riders and talk to the riders because they can't be here today because they're on a bus right now. Community workshops where people come to us to talk about these concepts and ask us exactly the sort of hard questions that we're getting here today. Presentations, the chambers of commerce, the neighborhoods associations, we've been all over. In fact, we even have a sign on every single bus that tells people, this is happening. You should send us a message. So from the comfort of their seat, people have sent us 3,300 text messages. We've had 800 conversations. All of this leads into a community survey. And again, that controversy is exactly what you'd expect with something here. That's why the community survey is so important. So I'm going to tell you what the survey is telling us. The first question is, should we change the bus system at all? Should we just leave everything the same? Let's not touch this. What should we do? Number 1, keep everything the same. Number 5, let's design the best possible network. 4.5 is the result. The vast, vast, vast majority of people we've surveyed want to change the bus network. Which concept do you prefer? Number 1 being coverage, number 5 being ridership. The result is 3.7. In the South, we've isolated the zip codes for the South is 3.4. So there's still a leaning towards ridership, but we're recommending halfway somewhere in between because going all the way towards ridership would not give us enough resources to address some of the needs that we're hearing about. We've collected a lot of information on age and race and all that sort of stuff, but in the interest of time, how often do you ride transit? This survey, the majority of people are actually transit riders that are taking this survey, but it's a mix. It's also people who don't take transit anymore. Our recommendation is go by the community position. Go by what the vast majority of people have asked us, have told Transit Alliance to do. I also want to introduce you to the Better Bus Coalition, which is a group of organizations of organizations that believe that this needs to happen. We're going to submit 3 of the letters from Career Source, Miami Homes for All, and the Miami Foundation, just so you have some of what they think about this project. And we've engaged a ton of municipalities as well. They've been involved in this project. They've hosted our workshops. They've come to our priorities workshops. Some of them have even passed positions. For example, City of Miami supports this project, Miami Beach Ridership, Doral Coverage, North Bay Village Ridership, Pinecrest, South Miami Ridership. So what's next? Last part of my presentation. I think there are 2 concerns mainly that you've heard today, very loud and clear. Those 2 concerns are privatization and cost neutral. I think that this project should set the stage to have very serious conversation and very serious action on both of these items. I think the privatized bus services are, frankly, just not serving the community as well as they should be. And the cost neutrality of this project is an issue that we need to actively bring forward and talk about. Do we have to design a system that's cost neutral? Because the beauty of this project is it shows you what your resources are capable of and what they are not capable of. So we are going to look to design the final network this year. It's going to be in between, is what we hope that this board would agree with. And this process has just been, have you ever seen a process like this where you have the county, municipalities, stakeholders, community input, international expertise, local staff, transit riders, bus operators, and advocacy all coming together for one project to reform the bus system? This has not happened, not here, not anywhere in the country. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your attention.